going to be initiating onto our ADC, who happens to be a Morgan. Will manage to escape the Morgan, but will end up dying to me. And now this Ganesh is extremely out of position. I'm going to go ahead and blink to avoid some of the damage on his ultimate. Fire stance is going to be optimal since he cannot interrupt any of the tick damage. We'll be able to pick up that kill. And that's kind of what the stances come down to. A lot of people ask, well, what's the best stance? Should probably die pretty easily, but I also knew that there would be people in this bush. Throw the one over there to secure the objective, and now I am kind of surrounded by their entire enemy team, which is a little bit risky. I'm going to make sure that, again, because I have Necronomicon now and have a lot to lose, I'm going to play like a traditional mage, using the environment to my advantage, spamming stuff from other sides of walls. But now that everybody's low, a flame dragon wave thing onto the enemy ADC will kill him, and Ganesha will die to the flame wave line thing. And now we're looking at killing this enemy solo laner through the Mulan. I'm going to wait to use my first ability in Flame Stance and then switch over to Ice. And Aphrodite will be able to pick up that kill. I don't know where the Mordred went, but he is the only one that is left. Ooh, he's going to land on me here. I have the blade available, so I'm going to go ahead and hit him with a little bit of damage right before popping the blade. And now that the blade has been popped, he has no option other than to just lay down and die for me. One auto attack into a first ability will kill him. And that, coupled with two other people dying and the Mordred probably about to die as well, should end this game off for us. I have arrived over to this fight proper. One auto attack into a switch stance will kill him. And then finally, the Ra will run away. I will not be able to catch up to him, I fear. Unless... Ooh, jumped right back into our team. So I'm going to go ahead and blink after him, and that first ability will put him in the grave. Look at that damage. That is insane. Hello, hope you guys are doing well, and today I'm bringing you some Merlin mid gameplay, and it appears that we're actually up against the Ganesh, which is something that I definitely did not expect. But here we are. Ganesh is pretty broken. We're gonna have to be Ganesh with aspect, that is. If you guys don't know, Ganesh is just released with an aspect, and it is quite powerful. It turns the second ability into a damage dealing ability, and it's really really heavy amount of damage. The only thing is this right here is that no matter how many damaging abilities you have or how broken an aspect might be, I'm a Merlin and I will not be outcleared, so I was able to do quite a lot of good poke damage here, pull up with the jungler and clear the red buff, and hopefully be able to secure the blue buff in the middle as well. I hope you guys are having a great day. We're playing some Merlin today, and the build was at the top, if not is still on the top of your screen in the form of a screenshot, and we'll talk about it a bit more later on. And even through the Raw having technically better secure, we were able to pick up that blue buff, which is huge because I would love to have that mana sustain. And I would also love to have the cooldown reduction. And if we're able to get these as well, which we will be able to because I don't know where the enemy jungler went, then we are going to have an even greater lead than we already do. Main focus in this middle lane is going to be not dying. To kind of start to see just how much damage that Ganesha's second ability does. The main kind of thing that we have going for us here is that Ganesha obviously is... Ooh, I'm going to have to go ahead and blink away here. Pop some potions, will not die. I feel like there's a world in which I would have died there if they played that a little bit better. But that, fortunately for me, was not the case, and we'll be able to survive. Main thing that we have going for us in this lane with how broken Ganesha is that we have range over the enemy Ganesh. So we could literally just poke him from afar, and this lane shouldn't be too difficult at all. While that character is broken, I'd more likely recommend that you play him in the jungle lane, not in mid. And it really is for that reason alone, that right now you can see I could throw some nice little long range abilities at him. He can't really do much to retaliate. But anyways, in this video, we're going to talk about a couple of things. Obviously, I'm going to talk about playing Merlin. We're going to talk about playing mid lane. And also on top of that, we're going to go pretty in-depthly into the build. I'm going to basically talk about all of the items that we're going, why we should go them, and then also why we shouldn't go them in some situations, why you might look into other options that may be better for you depending on your situation. Some good little poke damage that we're going to be able to do. I see some kill potential if he stays in lane. Our jungler is in like the general area, so if he decides to end up staying in lane, I think that we could have a pretty good time of killing him. My jungler is still waiting here, and he's stepping up quite a lot. He's going to go ahead and jump in. I'm going to make sure that I'm ready to go in whenever possible. I need 2 more auto attacks, maybe 1. There's the second auto attack, and we'll be able to pick up that first kill on the Ganesha. Very nice gank by the enemy jungler, brought me enough pressure so that I could step up and pick up the kill. even though all things considered, he didn't actually really do much. Him jumping in allowed him to panic and dash the wrong direction. And then I was able to switch stances into my CC stance to pull him back towards me so I can confirm some of those 2 auto attacks. Anyways, pros and weaknesses behind Merlin, first and foremost, are all of your abilities. And within all of these abilities comes an immense amount of variation, right? You're going to be able to basically, also, this is the build. I forgot to mention, if you look up Daxon in your God Builder when you're playing Merlin, you'll be able to look up my build. I almost forgot to talk about that. For every video that you're going to see, starting with the last video, so the video 2 days ago, and now moving with every video going forward, I'm going to have these builds ready to go for the characters on the Select Smite Auto God Builder system as I initiate pretty heavily onto the Ganesh. We're going to be able to do quite a lot of damage on the fire stance, and actually going to end up ulting to try to get away from some of the damage. My damage was already done, so his ult was just wasted for no real reason at all. Now this Ganesha finds himself in a position of being out of position, but him walking that way allows me to just sneakily come over here and make sure that I secure this red for myself. And now I don't know where he went. If I'm him, I would have backed, but I'm going to make sure to go. Wait, is he actually clearing this camp? Okay, he's dead. I really thought he would have backed. That's exactly what I would have done. I'm going to go ahead and switch stances because I didn't have abilities in the fire stance. And now he should be pretty easy to be killed unless I miss my entire kit and then also miss my auto attacks. I mean, I'll catch up to him eventually. I have my blink coming up, but he dashed that way, or was that blink? And I was able to pick him up with the ice bolt. And now a very out of position is this Hua Mulan as well, and the jungler will be able to pick her out as well. So we got the red buff, their red buff, mind you. Mind you, I feel like that's such a rude thing to say. It sounds rude. I know it's not rude, but it sounds rude. So their red buff, to be clear, and then also the mid camp. And because he was out of position, we managed to kill him too. And then the foolish solo laner who stepped in to try to help him for being out of position also ended up dying. 2 kills and 1 assistant. Anyways, back to my prior statement. The auto build. So the auto builds are going to be done for every single character that I play going forward. Even now, you could probably find some auto builds for a lot of characters that haven't gotten their video yet, because I either have the video already or I plan on making a video for them, so I already have the auto build done. So it doesn't hurt. If you go into a game, you can use those builds, and they are set up properly for auto build. So if you don't even want to mess with building items and you just want to make sure you get a good build that will work every single time, look up Daxon in the God Builder and you can set it to auto build, and the game will do everything for you. We'll talk a little bit more in depthly about that in a second. I don't really have time at this very current moment. He dashed me, but then he also ulted, so I think we're gonna be fine. If I hit my second ability there, I would have all in gone in, or I would have switched stances. And actually, matter of fact, he's pushed up quite a lot. I might be able to do that anyways. That no longer silences, so I'm allowed to cast my fire wave or whatever it's called through it and actually pick up that 3rd kill of the match. Come and pick up my red buff, and our lead at this point is quite insurmountable for him. Honestly, it would take quite a bit of a miracle for him to be able to come back into this lane and be successful, because at this point it's just kind of outrageous how far behind he is, and that's unfortunate for him, I must admit. All right, back in lane we find ourselves, and I'm ready to talk about just a little bit about the build section for this like pre-made build that I made. Obviously, it's not possible for there to be one build that's going to work in every single situation. That simply isn't possible. There are going to be different situations in which you're going to require to maybe change out an item or two for you to be completely optimal with your build. It's not possible to make one build that will be the perfect build in every situation, but what I have done and what I'm doing with these builds is making sure that I offer a build that will work in every situation, even if it's not the most optimal, because again, that's not possible. But no matter what's going on in your game, it's going to work. Now this guy initiating pretty heavily on me. I have beads against his ultimate. I'm doing quite a lot of damage. Did hit that last enhanced auto attack. I'm not really in a position where I can like run him down and, you know, in risk of possibly running into other people. So that's not something that I'm interested in. If I had some backup there, I definitely would have all-ined. But now I'm just going to go back to clearing the jungle camp surrounding the mid lane. At the end of the day, that's going to be the absolute best way to play mid, as the Ganesha is getting ganked. I don't think I'll be able to catch up to him, but what the jungler did do for me... Dude, he stepped back in? Are we high? He's going to get ulted by the Humbats. We're going to pick him up with a Frostbolt. And now here is the enemy Mordred. I'm going to try my best to peel for my jungler while missing all of my abilities. And hopefully we'll be able to pick up the kill here very soon. He's going to get stunned by the Humbats. I'm hitting him with the Flame Wave. I got one Frostbolt that I cannot miss, and that of which I did not miss, and picked up that kill for my Rampage 5-0 on the Merlin. Anyways, what was I talking about before we started that fight? And then there are also some situational items on the bottom that we'll talk about here in a second that you could sub in or out if you want to be a little bit more tailored with your builds and, kind of, push them in the direction of your whatever specific match you're playing or whatever your matchup is or what have you. We'll talk about all that a little bit later to give you guys a better idea of how to use it. And also just because I like to go pretty in depth into the builds so that you know why you're buying these things. I don't like to just tell you, buy these items because I said so. I want you guys to know why you're buying them. That way you start to learn how to build and not just follow somebody else's build. So that's kind of my thing there, if you will. Anyways, strengths and weaknesses behind Merlin. First of all, I know we were talking about this earlier. His multiple abilities are very versatile. You have a stance that can kind of deal with everything. You got your purple stance with some hard CC and heavy burst damage. You got your ice stance with tick damage and low cooldowns, as well as burst damage. It's like a mix of both. And then you got your fire stance for just pure tick damage, shred the tanks, do a bunch of damage over time. And each of them in and of themselves are going to be effective for different purposes. Now Mordred is going to be initiating onto our ADC, who happens to be a Morgan. Will manage to escape the Morgan, but will end up dying to me. And now this Ganesh is extremely out of position. I'm going to go ahead and blink to avoid some of the damage on his ultimate. Fire stance is going to be optimal since he cannot interrupt any of the tick damage. We'll be able to pick up that kill. And that's kind of what the stances come down to. A lot of people ask, well, what's the best stance to be in? My very favorite combo is the arcane stance, full arcane stance combo, and then instantly switch into the fire stance and then start doing your fire stance damage. But that might change, right? Is this Ganesh playing traditional Ganesh without aspect and he can just silence you out of your fire stance? Well, then maybe you do arcane stance into ice stance where nothing can be interrupted and you can do more effective damage that way, right? Do they have no way to interrupt your fire stance damage? Fire stance all day. That's your highest damaging stance, but it is all tick damage, so it can be interrupted by stuns, silences, and things of that nature. So you kind of have to pick your battles effectively. But in like a regular situation, I think the highest amount of damage that you can do is going to be that purple stance into fire stance. You also have to make sure that you're hitting them with the ultimate. While the ultimate could just be seen as a way for you to change your stance, it's a lot of damage with some nice little effects. Now the Mordred has shown up to attempt to fight us. I'm going to go ahead and do what I just told you guys I was going to do, the fire stance CC, or rather arcane stance CC into fire stance damage. And now this is a really interesting situation that I find myself in, but I'm going to use the Aphrodite ultimate to walk right through the Ganesha ultimate and then reposition back down this way. If the Ra decides to pursue the Aphrodite further, I might be able to do a lot of damage, but now the Mulan solo laner is here, and that's a little bit more pressure than I'm bargained for, so I don't really want to step up too much. I'm going to play it a little bit safe. Contrary to popular beliefs, or contrary to what you might be thinking and is intuitive, the further ahead you are, the safer you want to play because the more gold they get when they shut down. But a beautiful ultimate by the Hummats will allow me to switch into Ice Stance and hit them all with that Frostbolt, hit them all with that Rain, Ice Shards, or whatever the hell the abilities are called, and pick up a kill pretty easily here. I'm going to go ahead and switch into Fire Stance here and be ready to deal the rest of the damage once Apollo is out of the Mordred ultimate. Apollo will fall alongside 2 other people on the enemy team, and that to me means Gold Fury, which at the end of the day is how you're going to want to be playing these things, right? Your main objective into the mid game, which is what we're leaning into now, is going to be turning those skirmishes into objectives. Now the Ra coming up is a little bit risky because he has the ultimate to secure this, but it looks like the Humbats is going to be willing to sacrifice himself for us to secure the Gold Fury, which is more than worth it. I mean, him dying in the grand scheme of things means very little compared to us grabbing that Gold Fury, because again, that's just how important these objectives are. So always remember, play around objectives in the mid game, right? If you manage to kill 2 people, turn that into a Gold Fury, turn that into a Pyromancer. If you notice that the enemy did a heavy rotation over to the right side of the map, pull the Pyromancer. That's going to be your main objective in the mid game, and it's going to be what wins games. So if you're struggling to win your casual matches or even your ranked matches, just know that that's the best tip you have for just winning more often, is playing the objectives, playing these Gold Fury, Pyromancers, Fire Giants, towers, and all of those good things. And, just convincing your team to do it. Be the person to make that call, right? And a lot of the times that's going to come with experience as well. I have so many things to talk about, and I know I keep switching from one thing to the other, but that's what it comes down to. I have a lot of things to cover in this video. Now, unfortunately, what this video is not, is it's not a like complete Merlin guide where I'm going to be able to tell you this is what his first ability in Arcane Stance does, and his second ability in Arcane Stance moving on to Fire Stance, this is what these do. That's not what this is. This is a video that is going to be very helpful in terms of building, in terms of playing an actual match. But if you have no idea what Merlin does, then you're going to have to wait for my complete Merlin guide, which is coming out very soon. And I'll talk a little bit about that later once we get done this fight. I'm going to initiate with the, like I mentioned, Arcane Stance into Fire Stance. We'll be able to kill that Ganesha pretty easily. And now a Blink auto attack on this Mordred will grant that Humbas the second kill. And again, skirmish, or rather, ooh, that was a weird lag spike. One skirmish equals do an objective. So we happen to win a skirmish over here and kill 2 people. So now we have to turn this into the objective. The nearest objective here is going to be this Pyromancer. So we'll go ahead and do that with the help of the jungler. And that will give me some beautiful time to talk about the guide. If you guys are enjoying this video, make sure to like, comment, and specifically subscribe so you don't miss out on future Smite 2 content. Now, the reason I interrupted my Smite guide thing to say that is because if you guys are new to the channel, I post gameplay build videos like the one you're watching now, character guides like the Merlin guide that should be coming up this week, and I already have a bunch of guides ready for a lot of the characters. So again, go ahead and take a look at the channel. There's a video that you might enjoy. Hold that thought as this foolish ADC laner decided to go on me. Need I say anything? He insta-died. I'm 9 kills in level 15 compared to his level 10. He was never going to be much of any pressure. Anyways, where was I? And then I also post just general gameplay, or sorry, general Smite guides, like my complete beginner's guide to Smite 2. All right, so Necronomicon, Polynomicon are the items that you will go if you're extremely far ahead, like I am here, and that's why they're under the situational columns, and that's why I'm trying to highlight them. This little situational column will give you different items that work really well, if not outstandingly well, in certain situations. I am 9-0. I'm obviously I'm not dying too often, and I want an item that gives me a heavy amount of power, or like a heavy amount of pressure, or something like a Polynomicon. Also, he's gonna ult me and just die for it, I presume. I'm gonna go ahead and hit him with some abilities. I'm waiting on my change stance, which is up now. Again, right into Fire Stance, my favorite. And unfortunately, due to him ulting, he will not die, but very close to it, and we'll definitely take him out of the fight. Now we're staring at 4 of them if you count the Apollo that's up there in the sky. Landing on me will be suicide, so he decided to instead land on the jungler. I'm going to throw that ability out there. I'm looking to change stance to either Arcane or Ice to try to pick up one of these kills. Unfortunately, Ice was just barely not enough damage. Maybe Arcane would have been able to pick me that kill. Tower looking like it's going to fall. If the team works together, we should be able to do this, no problem. I have a lot to talk about. I might have to start ignoring these fights because they're happening so often because I don't want to run out of time. They could surrender at any moment. That's how far ahead we are. I'm going to switch over into Fire Stance to try to do some tick damage over on this Mordred. If he were to get stunned inside my flame wave. Trying to think of like general, obviously I remember like the fire or ice shards, ice bolt or whatever, eclipse. I can't remember the abilities for, or the names for all of his abilities, but I'll remember some of them. Ooh, Apollo dashed right into my flame wave thingy. He will die, and now her should die as well. If I'm able to do enough damage, which I'm not, and now I'm probably going to get shut down. At the very least, I went to the solo laner, and I'm still going to go into Necronomicon. I'll be able to get those stacks, no problem, and hopefully this time keep them and not die Phoenix by myself against the solo laner. Anyways, this is a huge blessing, though, because I get to talk about everything that I've been trying to talk about this whole match and haven't had time to. So yeah, check out my YouTube channel, subscribe so you don't miss out on future content, subscribe for the Merlin guide that's coming up this week. Check out some of the other guides that I already have that you might find helpful. Check out the builds in the Smite God builder system. This, look up Daxon right here. And you'll be able to use my builds in your games. You can see this is the final build. This is what we're working towards. Again, I'm in this game, given to my situation to being extremely far ahead. I'm going to make some changes to this build by using one of the situational items in Necronomicon, but we'll talk about that later. I keep saying we're going to talk about that later. I'm acting as if we have an infinite amount of time to talk about all these things. We do not. I'm going to try to hurry it up now. I have a Discord server. If you have any questions for me, need any help with the game, whether it be help with your builds, help with your general game knowledge, help with any tips or tricks, any questions you may have about the way things work, If you just want some people to play Smite 2 with, a non-toxic community of, Smite 2 players, join the Discord. You can play games with me, you can play games with other friendly people, and you can get help from me or other friendly people. So join the Discord server if any of that interests you. Raw, extremely out of position. My jungler close by. I'm going to go ahead and dash into him. It's kind of holding off on the switch stance just in case I need it. Did end up switching to it, did not need it, but it's okay because again I tend to want to stay like initiating arcane stance and then move on to fire stance or ice stance after the fact. Here comes the Ganesh with his level 15 ass, super far behind, and now with no dash I'm gonna go ahead and throw an ability over the wall and hope that I'm able to hit him, and that I am with a large amount of damage. I'm gonna start repositioning back here to maybe pick up the kill, but now with Mulan and Mordred being here, this is a very sticky situation that I don't want to be in. And now also the Apollo right above me. I'm going to have to blink away from this and use the second ability to probably try to peel for myself. Throw my first ability out there. Switch into fire stance. And I'm going to just try to do as much damage as I can to maybe help my team help me. But it's looking like this is going to be the end of it. I did a good amount of damage before I died, but that's going to be the end of it right there. And I'm going to try to take an opportunity. Glass half full, optimism. Take this death to talk about all the other stuff that I have to talk about. Twitch is something that I do on Thursdays and Fridays. So if you want to watch some live gameplay with a bit of a different experience and more play-by-play oriented, then you can go ahead and do that. Follow me on Twitch. It's always fun to interact with you guys live and get the opportunity to like directly answer all your guys' questions or comments. It's just always fun for me to interact with you guys. Okay, that's the end of self-promotion. Let's start talking about some of this build. So we got the Necronomicon now. So now we really do have to play safer. We didn't have it before. I just bought it. And let me just start talking about the build top to bottom because again, I've been wasting a lot of time. First and foremostly, Sands of Time is your starter. Conduit Gem is a item that helps tremendously with early game pressure and clear. You as Merlin do not need that item. You have the best clear in the game because you in the early game have 2 abilities when the enemy mid laner has 1, and in level 2 you have 4 abilities where the enemy has 2. You will never be out cleared as Merlin if you play it correctly. Initiating onto this fight with Flame Wave, switching over to Arcane Stance to throw over some abilities over there. Won't be enough to kill anyone. Mordred is very, very low, but I'm still here with some high cooldown reduction and ready to pounce on the next person that steps a little bit too far up. My damage is pretty good right now. Again, my cooldown is really low. I just need an opportunity to come in here if one of my team, one of the tankier people on my team or people that are more suited to initiate. But it looks like they're not wanting to do anything, so I'm going to have to do it myself. I'm going to blink in aggressively and try to start something. My team doesn't seem to want to start anything at this very current moment. So a Gold Fury or Pyromancer is optimal play here. If they don't want to take the fight, then we take the objective. I'm sticking around to make sure that the rotation over to the Pyromancer goes smoothly. And that's kind of the main concern that I have here. I'm going to make sure that I throw some abilities their way to kind of slow down their advance towards us. I think that if he decides to go in on this, he should probably die pretty easily, but I also knew that there would be people in this bush. Throw the 1 over there to secure the objective, and now I am kind of surrounded by their entire enemy team, which is a little bit risky. I'm going to make sure that, again, because I have Necronomicon now and have a lot to lose, I'm going to play like a traditional mage, using the environment to my advantage, spamming stuff from other sides of walls. But now that everybody's low, a flame dragon wave thing onto the enemy ADC will kill him, and Ganesha will die to the flame wave line thing. And now we're looking at killing this enemy solo laner through the Mulan. I'm going to wait to use my first ability in Flame Stance and then switch over to Ice. And Aphrodite will be able to pick up that kill. I don't know where the Mordred went, but he is the only one that is left. It's me, the Mordred, and the Aphrodite who can probably get this Fire Giant done on our own. So we're going to go ahead and get started with that. All 3 Necronomicon stacks are active now, so we're going to do quite a lot of damage. Now, I'm going to be completely frank. Mordred showing up while we're doing this, especially with our Mordred being low, could be quite devastating. We might have to drop this thing altogether now that he has shown up to go for him instead. I don't yet have my tank shredding tools because I decided to delay them for Necronomicon since I was so far ahead. It's necessary now. I have the goal to go and get started on that, but wow, he's doing so much damage. I'm going to need a little bit of help from this Aphrodite. I had this little wind sprite that I could use to gain some distance between me and him and then start walking this way, which is the opposite way that he's walking. Now I have to be careful. Is he trying to cut me off? Is he chasing me the traditional way? I'm going to have to blink this way because I'm staring at 2 people. Thankfully, the jungler pulled up and ulted and managed to peel them off of me. Thank you very much for that, and I'll be able to back and hopefully rejoin this fight. And Mordred did end up dying as well, which is nice. I need to start working on anti-shred. I could either go into this Rod of Tahuti and do a bunch of damage to the squishies and try to one-shot them so that Merlin isn't, or sorry, not Merlin, the Mordred isn't a problem, or I could go tank and deal with him, and I'll kind of think about it as we go, because this little tier 2 that I bought that builds into, what do you call it? Rod of Tahuti also builds into my penetration, so I can decide in a second here which way I want to take it. Starter item Sands of Time, like I said, you don't need Conduit Gem, and Sands of Times gives you cooldown reduction. Your main focus should be in this order: cooldown reduction, intelligence, and then finally penetration shred. A lot of damage I'll do to the enemy, what's his face? Not enough to kill him, but then he decides to land in on my teammates. I'm just gonna let the Mordred kill him and kind of come back over here and try to see if I can kill this enemy Mulan. A lot of damage I will do with my first ability in Flame Stance. That's getting old. And then I'll switch over to Ice Stance and stand inside of the ice storm shards so that he can't fight me. If he does want to fight me, then he has to stand in here. So this is me kind of zoning them off of me so that he doesn't do too much damage to me. And now turning around over to this Ra, who did find himself in the wrong place at the right time, chasing down our teammate. We will stop him, be able to save our teammate and kill him pretty easily. And now this Mordred is extremely low health, but I do want to make sure that we focus on this Phoenix, because again, objectives, objectives, objectives. And now with them all dead, we can probably attempt to go for another Fire Giant, although they are coming up soon. Mordred showing up to that Fire Giant fight could be a little bit damning as well. So again, cooldown reduction, intelligence, penetration in that order. Sands of Time is going to get you started on some of that cooldown reduction, and if you buy Sands of Time and have a guaranteed 20 cooldown reduction in the late game, then it allows you to use your other 6 item slots on items that are a little bit more useful in other aspects, right? Usually items that have cooldown reduction don't have a lot of power, don't have a lot of penetration, if any, actually. Ooh, nice little Ganesh ult coming through. As long as we keep the pyro off of the Ganesh ult, we should be fine. Now this Mordred might be a problem here because I don't have my penetration yet, and I also don't have anti-heal. My team does have anti-heal though. I don't know if that's going to be enough. We are fighting with someone who does have a little bit of anti-heal, so it usually would be enough, but it's looking like his just sheer tankiness coupled with that small amount of anti-heals making it very difficult for us to track him down. And I mean, Mordred, just due to his infinite fucking dashes, is just like that. And we'll be able to kill him here. And now we're only staring at the Ra and the Mulan that are up at this very moment. I need to start talking about this build. Okay, intelligence, Book of Thoth. Book of Thoth is going to give you an immense amount of intelligence, and it's going to give you an immense amount of mana. Now, usually something like a Doom Orb could work as well because it gives you a lot of intelligence, but Book of Thoth is your optimal choice because it also gives you an infinite amount of mana, literally. And on a character like Merlin, if you're going to be building a lot of cooldown and you're going to be switching stances and constantly spamming abilities, you're going to run out of mana. Book of Thoth is a must buy on this character. I follow that up with Soul Gem because, again, what are our 3 priorities? Intelligence, cooldown reduction, and penetration. Now, while Soul Gem does not give you penetration, it gives you intelligence, cooldown reduction, and specifically sustain. It allows you to sustain in lane by hitting abilities and healing yourself. You, as Merlin, have access to a myriad of abilities that you can use to poke the enemy and end up healing yourself. And while that small amount of healing might not sound very important, and it definitely hasn't been in this game going up against a melee character, but going up against a range character, taking poke from them every once in a while and being able to sustain that is going to be very important. It's not just you getting kill potential on them by having more health. It's you didn't have to back this wave because you can heal through it and sustain through it. The enemy had to back and missed a couple minions. You can take this jungle camp because you didn't have to back because you can sustain. All right, now 2 tanks out of position here, while 1 tank and another one playing a tank but building him damage out of position. I don't want to step into this ultimate from the Ganesh because this still does a lot of damage. Blink from the Ganesh will put him at a safe distance from me, and I'm not going to bother with chasing him. I'm going to come back and, you know, have my eyes on the prize, which is going to be this fight going on over here. Mordred is a little bit out of position. Ra's a little bit out of position. Mordred did get stunned in my kit and will die to the Morgan, and this is looking like the end of the game here. Didn't get Fire Giant, but if we can get maybe 1 more pick, this is looking like the end. I'm going to like speed run the build real quick. So yeah, Soul Gem, very important. Very nice to have on Merlin. After that, Desolation is a very powerful pick for your cooldown and intelligence needs. This gives you 100 intelligence, which is a pretty absurd amount, and you get 10 cooldown reduction, and also your passive is beautiful, giving you more cooldown reduction in the form of if you get a kill or an assist, you get a bunch of like a 5 seconds off of all of your cooldowns, which is insane. It is a lot of cooldown reduction. On a character that you're already building an immense amount of cooldown reduction, being able to build even more and cycle through your abilities even more often is insanity personified, insanity given form. Very good pickup. After that, I would regularly recommend that you go right into Rod of Tahuti, if not Totem of Death. But again, this time we happen to be extremely far ahead, so I went for the Necronomicon, which is just going to give you nothing but a bunch of intelligence as we managed to secure this Fire Giant. I'll pick up the dagger. An immense amount of intelligence. And again, it's only that I'm able to make use of this item because I'm as far ahead as I am. Have had these 3 Necronomicon stacks for quite a long time. Haven't really lost them. So that's doing pretty good for me. After that, I want to, nice little ultimate, but look at the damage on my first ability. Moving on to the second ability into an auto attack will allow me to kill him pretty easily. So you can kind of start to see just about how much damage this build can do. He didn't really ever stand a chance against me. That was insane. Anyways, and I mean, we're 16-2 on the Merlin. You guys have seen how much damage we're doing. Maybe not so much to this Merlin, but our next item will help us out with that. Yeah, Rod of Tahuti, coupled with just how much intelligence we have right now, is going to be a godsend. You can see that we're at 934 intelligence, which is an insane amount. Granted, we do have the Fire Giant buff, so that's something to be aware of. But yeah, it's a lot of intelligence, and coupled with an item like Rod of Tahuti, which will give you more intelligence based on how much intelligence you have. When you buy this later on in your build, usually second to last, if not your last item, it is very effective. And now finally, I'm going to start building to deal with this enemy Mordred into the totem. Totem is going to give me more cooldown reduction, a bunch of penetration, and some intelligence as well. So a well-rounded build where you kind of follow that general cadence of getting some intelligence, cooldown reduction, and penetration towards the later half of the game when it's necessary. Now, why I talk about builds being situational, as this guy is definitely dead, he just walked into my first ability, is what if they don't have tanks, or what if the tanks aren't any problem? Well, then maybe you don't go that Totem of Death, or maybe you go that Totem of Death but don't go the Soul Reaver, right? Because in the regular build, you go both Totem and Soul Reaver. But what if the tanks aren't doing much? Then maybe let go of those tank shred items and go for an Necronomicon or a Polynomicon, right? Or what if the tanks are being really aggressive and they're a big problem for you? Then maybe you build that Totem of Death and that Soul Reaver earlier on in your build, right? And what if you need to sacrifice one of your cooldown reduction items, if not 2, to be able to deal with some of the problems that you're facing in game? Like, for example, tanks are really problematic, and then also you have to counter enemy healing and you need a divine. Well, then Cosmic Horror might be something that you want to buy because it gives you a lump sum of cooldown reduction. So you can kind of buy 1 cooldown reduction item instead of 2, and then it opens up 1 slot for a Divine Ruin or some tank shred options, or whatever you may need in that situation. Or maybe something like a Chronos Pendant. So that's the point of all the situational items. He's going to land on me here. I have the blade available, so I'm going to go ahead and hit him with a little bit of damage right before popping the blade. And now that the blade has been popped, he has no option other than to just lay down and die for me. 1 auto attack into a first ability will kill him. And that, coupled with 2 other people dying and the Mordred probably about to die as well, should end this game off for us. I have arrived over to this fight proper. 1 auto attack into a switch stance will kill him. And then finally, the Ra will run away. I will not be able to catch up to him, I fear. Unless... jumped right back into our team. So I'm going to go ahead and blink after him, and that first ability will put him in the grave. Look at that damage. That is insane. And now with us killing 3 of them, or rather assisting... No, I killed all 3 of them. We'll be able to finish off this game beautifully. I hope you guys enjoyed that video. If you have any questions or need help, join the Discord server. If you want to play some games with me, join the Discord server. If you want to watch live gameplay, join the Twitch. And most importantly, if you enjoyed this video and found it helpful, subscribe, to keep up with future content. And also just check out my YouTube channel, other videos like it that you might enjoy. You guys have yourselves a wonderful day. I love you. Bye. Use this build in your next match. Let me know in the comments how it goes.